All right.
Useful.
Everything's going, right?
We remembered how to make the podcast that we make.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, probably not.
Yep.
All of us suffered a tremendous lapse in memory, and we forgot that we do this podcast.
Yes.
But now
we're back now.
Fucking hotel room. Oh my god.
various travails attempting to get this made, but we're back. It's here now.
We're back. We're here. We're doing a podcast. Hello and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem.
Live
it's
on
a
air.
podcast. What?
It's booked. I booked the hotel.
Oh, I thought I was introducing the podcast.
Yeah, no, I was interrupting you.
It's the podcast that books hotels. Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, yes. Welcome to hotels.com. I'm
No free promos. And also, we're a Hotwire house, sir.
I'm the new Priceline negotiator. I took over after William Shatner had his soul stolen by space, thanks to Jeff Bezos.
The lady from Big Bang Theory is their spokesperson now.
Really?
Kaylee.
That's
depressing.
I don't like that.
So I do want to highlight real quick that William Shatner really did have a depressing time in space, and I think we should normalize that. He got back from space and he's like, man, it just made me feel terrible about all of the stuff that we're doing to the planet. So
only got one of them.
Yeah, turns out.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to Well, There's Your Problem. It's a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak. I'm the person who's talking right now. My pronouns are he and him. Okay, go.
I'm Alex Goldwell-Kelly. I'm the person who's talking now. My pronouns are she and her. Yay, Liam.
Hey, Liam. Hi, I'm Liam Anderson. My pronouns are he and him. I got to close
No guest.
No guest.
No guest today. It's just us. No one wanted to talk to us.
No, sometimes they don't. You know?
Yeah, it's true. So what you're looking at on the screen here is a suspension bridge.
Oh, shit, really? Is that what that is? I thought it was a boat.
No, there's several boats in the foreground, but there's a suspension bridge in the background. What you may notice is that
I meant the fucking bridge deck as I now see it to be because of the shape. I didn't see the little pillars there, and I thought it was a boat that was like capsizing or something.
Well, no. It's the thing is the bridge deck is not supposed to be shaped like that.
Oh,
Today we're going to talk about the Great Yarmouth Suspension Bridge disaster.
Ooh, going back in time again for this one. This has
way
back
to
the Victorian.
Yes, this is. Who was the guy before Queen Victoria?
Oh fuck. Georgian. I think
it would be Georgian. Yeah.
When did like George the Fourth, I believe. That's fine. The listener, you just wait while we Google this up for you real quick.
Exactly.
It's the podcast that does its research.
Cue Jeopardy theme.
No, don't cue Jeopardy theme. The last time we cued anything that was like copyrighted music, it put ads in the video automatically, and everyone got very mad at us.
I think it puts ads in all the videos automatically anyway.
The Duke of York died, followed by George I. King.
If you have seen an ad preceding any of our podcasts on YouTube, rest assured we didn't make any money from it.
Oh no, but it was way worse than that because
whoever the hell that is.
William the
Bizarre.
Fourth.
Wow,
interesting.
We're doing a Williamine disaster.
A Williard.
Yeah.
Yes. But anyway, before we talk about the suspension bridge, we have to do the goddamn news.
Oh, we've got so much news on account of we don't know how to schedule a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, after months of vacillating on the subject, Elon Musk finally downed a pint of whiskey, got all of his best buds in his Range Rover, and went on a bird hunt. He has bought Twitter.
And has he ever bought Twitter? They successfully made him pay $44 billion for a website that is, if anything, actively making him dumber to use.
Yes.
And which has been a sort of like new parade of humiliations every day of his life. And together, we can like genuinely bully him to a greater extent than we ever have been able to before, which is saying something.
It is like an extreme. I don't know how to describe it other than it does feel like it is a very white South African move to try this.
Yes. You are not wrong, my friend. I will say something that's very funny that came out today is that apparently he's looking for a new CEO. So in 3 short weeks, we managed to bully him off Twitter.
Well, the thing is, he has the world's thinnest skin. He's also very stupid. He needs you to like him.
Yes.
And I still think that really the most perceptive thing anyone said about this was that it was a moment where it felt like the substitute teacher losing control of the classroom.
Yes.
Where we just like, we were never going to like him, but there was a moment where we just turned on him, and it may well destroy Twitter, in which case, I guess I'll see you on the, well, there's your problem, Discords.
I don't want to go on the Discord.
I don't want to go on the Discord either.
Stop fucking messaging me about the Discord, okay?
Maybe I'll go outside. I don't know.
I don't know what happens on the Discord. Yeah, we're gonna start like we're gonna have to
shout
do
out
an old
Jay for doing
thing.
all of our mod work for us.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to like start a union hall or something.
Yeah,
you know, we're gonna have to buy a building where everyone who enjoys the podcast can come and talk to each other.
You fucking freaks.
Just sort of like wander the streets yelling my opinions and see where I get with that. You know,
that is the old-fashioned way to do Twitter.
I mean, it's more sort of technically competent than Mastodon is. Plus, you know, when you're roaming the streets yelling, you don't have to think about words like redoot or uptoot or whatever.
I think they just changed that, which I think is kind of lame. I think they should have stuck with their guns on that one.
They should have kept the Mastodon theme.
Yeah, I think they should go more. They should lean into it. I think there should be more large woolly mammals. Large extinct woolly mammals. Yes. If it worked
the reason why I don't want to switch to Mastodon is because a friend of mine is in, and you can say, this is an unusual instance of Mastodon. That's another one of my problems with it. That it's just little like federated communities. But a friend of mine got a message in all earnestness saying, "Oh, hey, by the way, people usually like content warning their selfies, especially ones with eye contact." And that was like, okay, fine. If you want to do that, fine. I'm not going to do that.
I'm not doing that. No,
I got in early. I got into the main official instance of Mastodon, which is the only one that should exist.
Mr. Richman.
Yeah.
There's the thing I don't understand is why would you not just buy Reddit? You want to be king shit at Third Mountain, so buy Reddit.
That would be that Comcast owns it. Comcast knows what it's worth.
Yeah, Reddit mentality. That's Elon Musk's problem. Is he has a Reddit mentality and he's trying to like infect other parts of the internet with it.
These two Reddit for Reddit, or is it Condé Nast that owns Reddit?
I think so. Yeah. So in order to make Twitter profitable, because it was never really profitable. They never really worked out a way to make it profitable. It was doing all right. Until it suddenly became laden with debt because Elon Musk had paid way too much for it. And it now became an imminent fiscal crisis. Elon Musk's thing is we have to catastrophically cut back on stuff. Everyone's fired, especially everyone who criticizes me in any way. And also, you have to pay to use Twitter. And we've all seen the sort of verification problems that arise from that. But I do want to steal one more joke, which is, you should see what happened to the last guy who tried to make me pay to post.
Yes. Although I will say the Something Awful pay scheme I think is a lot better, just because, you know, if you could pay $8 to change other people's Twitter details.
Oh, that'd be very funny.
Yeah, that would be really
basically
good.
That's what happened for a while. For like 2 days, you could essentially do this, and in so doing, we managed to knock like $1 billion off of Eli Lilly's stock price.
I'm thinking like I pay $8 and for a month Union Pacific has a giant red text saying we abuse workers.
Yes. Yeah. What if Twitter were more like Something Awful is not a thing I had considered? but I'm not really unhappy about it.
Somehow not as bad. You know, it wouldn't be as worse an option.
I thrived on Something Awful.
Oh, we all did. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you had a Something Awful account, Liam.
Yeah, you bullied me into getting one.
When did I do that?
When
that
we were
that would have been well after when Something Awful was relevant.
Yeah, I don't know, college.
The perfect time to onboard, you know, when it's just
true.
dead.
I was on Something Awful in high school for a bit, but I was also on a lot of drugs.
That's a pretty decent combination.
I forgot when I got my Something Awful account because I was in TCC and I was on the juice. I bought a piano and didn't remember.
I don't think I ever bought a piano. The fugue states are not your friend.
Yeah,
is what I would say.
The lesson for this is that no one's going to pay for Twitter, and I'm not even opposed to paying for Twitter, like in some form, if it were good.
No, I'm not really. I totally get why you paid like old Twitter Blue for the organizational stuff. From what I understand, was actually pretty good. And I would pay. I would pay something like a nominal like $2 to $3 fee, but I won't fucking pay it to Elon Musk.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And yeah.
I've said
if I'm going to pay for it, it has to work too.
Right. Right.
You just fired all the people who make it work, so now it works even more poorly than it already did, which was, barely.
I've said before that if I were to buy another car, at any point in my life, if Elon didn't run Tesla, I would be like, Teslas, but he does.
Yeah, because you crave death.
Exactly. I do, but that's why I turbo swapped the GTI.
I love build quality.
Ask me about torque steer. Hey, don't ask VW about. You know what's really funny? And I've told this to Roz. So Corinne has a RAV4. And when you turn it on, there's a warning on the infotainment screen. It's like, hey, don't drive distracted. Always, use these systems when it's safe to do so. Blah 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 blah. Which nobody pays attention to. The GTI starts up. The screen says GTI, and then it goes right in. The Germans do not care if you live or die. Not a warning. Not a drive safely. Not a fucking nothing. The only fucking thing my car does is when it's below 40, it's like conditions may be icy, and it does that every time. And it's like, yes, I live in Pennsylvania.
And in order to further pursue that sort of Tesla feeling, you also removed the inner door handles so that in an emergency you can't get out of the GTI.
Oh, I have door handles.
Well, see, this is the thing. You don't want a Tesla because you'd be losing that key feature. Yeah,
I was considering just taking my rear seats out, sort of for the thrill of it all, and I was just like,
the Super Lagaria program.
Yeah, right. With weight savings.
I've always been terrified. What if I'm out with friends and someone calls an Uber to go to next location, and the car that shows up is a Tesla, and I have to explain to everyone I'm not getting in that car.
I put me on the roof rack like Mitt Romney's dog.
Yeah, I have been in a Tesla one time in my life, and it was one of the unhappiest times I've been in a car.
Mm-hmm.
It was I was coming back from some concert or something. I don't really remember. And I had to explain how the stupid fucking door handles worked and all of this. And it's just it's too clever by half. We get it. You're the fucking teacher's pet sitting at the front of the room being like, oh, well, you didn't assign the homework. And eventually that kid grows up and fucking hopefully. And Elon Musk should also have a nice time.
What a beautiful way to end that sentence in a long beat.
I was about to say that is you didn't catch yourself on the first part, but on the second part, sure.
It's been a long week, and it's fucking Wednesday, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I have a 9 to 5 that clapped my cheeks today.
I'm sorry you got your cheeks clapped by capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I use it to buy more stupid parts for my GTI.
Yes.
Equilibrium Tuning is having a sale right now. So
you could have had a worse day if you were at an air show in Dallas.
Oh God! Did you see the video of this?
Yes.
Everyone saw the multiple videos of this, because this is the thing. Everyone has high definition cameras on them at this point, especially when they're going to shit like air shows. This was one of the few photos I could find of this that didn't have like, hey, a bunch of people are going to die in a few frames, sort of aura off of it.
All I could think when I saw it was the 3D Ultra Lionel Traintown Deluxe guy going, "That's a fender bender."
What the fuck is wrong with you?
So if you're not familiar,
it's just stuck in my head now.
Yeah, there was an air show in Dallas. The commemorative Air Force managed to fly a P-63 King Cobra into the back of a B-17 bomber, probably entirely within each other's blind spots the whole time.
Yes. I believe there was something like the who's the guy who directs the air show? It's like an air marshal or something.
Yeah, they called him an air boss, which is a cool job title.
That is true. And he said he told the P-63 to overtake the bomber, and then
this.
Yeah,
I do have a great quote from Michael Graham, a member of the NTSB. He said, "One of the things we would probably most likely be trying to determine is why those aircraft were co-altitude in the same airspace at the same time." It's like, very much the same airspace, as it turned out.
Yeah, occupying literally the same bits. Actually, that's the problem here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's grim. It's killed like 6 people. No one on the ground, thankfully, but like both crews, like 5 people in the B-17, and one in the P-63. Air shows are a dangerous activity, like not inherently, but like relatively. It's like one of the more dangerous things you can go and see.
I mean, one of the things I didn't like about this, though, are people calling like for banning air shows, and it was like, I don't know. I think we should still have these things. You know, this is an accident which occurred, but we do have like ways to learn from it and ways to make the air show safer. You know,
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I have sort of mixed feelings about air shows, largely because of like a Pictures for Sad Children comic that like stuck in my head at the time, which is that like your modern air show with the jets and such is like, hey, this is what death sounds like. It's like, okay. But yeah, no, it does have like sort of importance as living history, and I think we can make them safer. I mean, most of them don't kill a bunch of people.
What we got to do is bring back the plane pull.
What?
The plane pull. There was a thing, I think it's at several airports. I know for a fact it was on Dulles Airport. They just opened up the tarmac one day, and teams of big burly men would try and
physically pull the plane. Yes,
physically pull a 747. Yeah.
Okay.
This fucks.
So you just want a strongman competition, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want.
Yeah, just do that with a B-17.
You are fascinating.
No, you gotta. Yeah, I mean, I think the B-17 would be relatively easy to pull.
Dudes pull like 747s. Those are fucking big as shit.
Yeah, they're really big. Yeah.
Pull B-52.
It's still smaller than a 747. I mean, unfortunately, we can no longer pull the Antonov 225 because
sad.
That's really sad.
Fucking Russians. Yeah. So anyway, if you're an air boss, don't
do better.
Cause the planes to crash into each other, please.
Yeah. Kind of impressive that, you know, despite having the back of this aircraft sheared off, like all the wing structure is still like intact on the ground.
They don't build them like they used to.
Oh my god, I just realized I literally did the like no correlation plane thing in real life.
Yes.
Yeah, you're amazing.
In other
Crack open that big Alice brain and see what's inside.
That's right. UC, the University of California system, is on strike. About 48,000 workers, from like graders to postdocs to like support workers, are all on strike for the usual reasons. People need to eat, people need childcare, people need like transit to and from work, which is an interesting one to like specifically enumerate. But also because this is America, they're all United Auto Workers. This is a UAW strike.
Yeah,
I find
it totally makes sense. Yeah, the IWW succeeded in one way, which is one big union, but not the one you think.
Yeah, trying to explain like a mass union to Americans. Okay, so imagine cars, right?
Right. So it's cars, yeah, but it's also everything else.
This is the UAW Local 2865, I believe. And of course, when you put a bunch of like UAW negotiators in a room with the people who run the University of California system, they're not going. The UC people aren't going to know how to negotiate with them. They're going to remain sort of like even more arrogant than management typically do in such a situation, and as a result, strike. We don't know how long this is going to last, but you know, it's a union winter, I guess. Now, so winter of
discontent. Cross the picket line.
That's true. That is true.
Unsurprising, you know.
No, definitely unsurprising.
What are the demands of the strikers here? I haven't been following the story too closely because I've been obsessed with the railroad strike, of course.
Essentially, they want to earn enough money working at a UC campus to live anywhere within 50 miles of a UC campus.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Like, I mean, UC is what, like, aside from Davis or whatever, like Berkeley, for fuck's sake, or San Francisco,
UCLA, Santa Cruz.
Berkeley's probably the most expensive one.
Oh yeah.
So that's the main thing, because the UC proposed like something like a 7.5% raise maximum in a year when inflation is up 8.5%.
And I'm sure housing costs are up like 35%.
Yeah, and incidentally, UC's Board of Regents voted earlier this year to approve a 28% pay increase for their 9 chancellors, which puts their salary range at a minimum of $522,000 a year.
All you do is go to meetings.
Yeah,
it's not a real fucking job.
Including the meetings. Including the meetings where your workers say, hey, you should give us more money, otherwise we'll strike, and you tell them to go fuck themselves and they strike, and then the university doesn't work anymore. So in terms of just like keeping the basic thing functioning, sort of ineffective hostile management, I don't know how
set
well
the Board of Regents on fire, obviously. Who else we got that I hate? What's his name? Fucking Drake something.
Andrew Yang.
Michael Drake, who's the president of University of California.
Oh, and they also want a cap on the like how much you can charge for like on-campus housing, which
all right. Well, that's why they have to build a cube.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, the cube.
Why don't they just build a cube for all the workers?
If we just compress all of the workers into this sort of like obsidian cuboid barracks, you know, it'd be good, right? Because like it's one of those new sort of very architectural buildings that campuses like. It'd be very efficient because everyone's just going to be in the cube. And it'll emit this like unnerving hum as well, which, you know, will probably be heard across most of the area. And I think that'll really like encourage learning.
For those of you who are not familiar, check out our episode on the UCSB student housing cube.
Yeah, so I'm more power to them, basically.
Yes.
Sure.
I've heard this described as being like, is this going to be the union tipping point? And I feel like this happens every time there's a large strike, both in the UK or the US. That's like, is this going to be the tipping point? So we're all sort of like poking the big sort of like labor relations thing with a stick and going like, come on,
right?
Do the tipping point,
right?
I mean, impossible to say. Like maybe you know, in 1917 or whatever, you would have like a podcast and you were like, oh, fucking, now the sailors are striking at Kronstadt. Maybe this is going to be it this time. I don't know. Impossible to tell.
With the railroad strike.
What is going on with the railroad strike? Well, we had so far it's Brotherhood of Carmen, I believe.
saw the Boilermen rejected the contract.
The Boilermen rejected, but that's a very small union. The biggest one that has rejected so far is Maintenance Away, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, and Smart TD have not finished counting votes yet, though I believe they have voted. We should find that out in the next couple of weeks. I believe they have decided to call off the strike until after the Georgia runoff, because this is still highly political. But the fact that I believe 3 unions now have rejected the contract means strike is probably on. It seems very unlikely that there'll be some kind of resolution there, just because BLET and Smart TD are the ones who have the actual problems, and most of the no votes so far have been solidarity votes, as far as I can tell. Because a lot of these unions got really good deals, and then you still had significant membership voting no, because they know that the actual people driving the trains are still getting really screwed over.
Yeah, well, things are really heating up here in the UK as well. We're in for another 6 months of rail strikes because some of our rail unions just balloted again for more mandates to do more strikes, and again, sort of approval rates in the 90s. I don't think even the low 90s.
Lordy.
We've got ambulance staff up here striking. The fire brigade might be about to go on strike as well.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
The fire brigade's union, the fire brigade's union genuinely quite militant, and I say that very approvingly. And fuck, what's the other one? Oh god. It'll come to me. But basically, everyone's going on strike, and obviously we support this.
Yes.
In other
news.
There's so much news.
Yes,
we're back. America is going back to space with the first noble act of sending 4 crash test dummies to the moon and returning them safely to Earth. I don't know if you're returning them safely to Earth. It probably doesn't matter.
I was honestly not aware of this mission until yesterday.
Oh yeah.
The Artemis program, the sort of
part of the show, Tom Payne was filling me in on this.
Yeah, the sister to the Apollo program. We're gonna send Americans back to the moon during the by 2030, and the idea is to develop a sort of moon orbital space station, this gateway station, which. Yeah, I don't know. That's sort of controversial in space circles. People think it's kind of like a boondoggle, I guess, as opposed to
it's gonna be a boondoggle. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a boondoggle.
Yeah, but it is cool.
But it is cool.
That's true.
Yeah, I give a shit about the logistics of it. I'm not that bright. I just know moon. If you could basically build the Death Star, I'm here for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Well, the fight is between the people who wanted to have a moon space station and a moon base, something on the actual moon landed permanently.
I figured out the moon space station seems like a smarter idea.
I like the moon space station more.
But I think the other thing is you could just have a regular space station around Earth.
Shut the hell up! We have one.
Yeah, but this is one where you dump a bunch of fuel there, so then you can go other places.
Yeah, well, that's I think the long-term plan for this moon space station. They're calling it Gateway Station.
Is this going to be a goddamn space elevator shit again?
We need a space elevator.
Yeah, this is going to be in situ resource utilization at some point in the 2030s, 2040s, as we're going to work out how to make rocket fuel off of moon rocks or whatever, and then just turn the whole thing into a big gas station to put people on Mars. That's the idea.
We're trying to turn cheese into rocket fuel.
Yeah. But they launched this thing. It's the first full flight of the space launch system, which, as you see here, very dramatic, lots of sound and fury. And eventually this is going to carry people. They have the crew bits designed by the European Space Agency, and then they're going to have to wait for SpaceX to design the fucking lander in order to actually land people on the moon. This is going to like send some crash test dummies around the moon and back. And then if Elon isn't too distracted by Twitter.
Okay, so they designed the rocket, which is something SpaceX already had.
Yeah.
Instead of getting a rocket from SpaceX and then using that time to design the lander.
Yes. Yeah, and then they made SpaceX design the lander.
You could have maybe switched this around and saved some design time.
I mean, listen, I have many thousand hours in Kerbal Space Program, and the thing about Kerbal Space Program is that it doesn't make you sort of like compete between state and private manufacturers for your rockets.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, my favorite part of Kerbal Space Program is how inauthentic the geopolitical situation is with the little Kerbal things.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they get a bunch of science points out of this mission.
I'm not actually sure what they plan to like learn from this, other than can we do the orbital mechanics? Does everything work? Does it like? Because like you can't open up the capsule at the other end
in the 60s.
Yeah. You can't open up the capsule at the other end, look at 4 test dummies, and be like, "My God, they're dead in here." I think the idea is they're going to push this beyond like survivability limits. They're going to have them like in space for longer than they expect the people to be, in hopes that like the stress test the thing and they know they can do it if they have to. But yeah, this is cool. This is good, and it meanwhile, sort of like completely shut Russia out of space exploration. Their current thing is like a joint sort of like landed moon base with China. Fuck knows when or if that's going to happen. So America's back. Dark Brandon does it again. Things of this nature.
Just imagining when there's an American and a Chinese moon base, and then the astronauts
one
come
of them
out
kills
and fight
the other
each
with
other.
A rock.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking like what's his name? Like a Rand Paul type situation,
sort of like a lawn mowing dispute. You should check out a show called For All Mankind.
A great show.
Essentially this idea.
In other news,
midterms back.
Yay!
It's big boy season. It turns out all you have to do is
be a big boy.
Get the largest possible man to run for Senate, and he wins.
He did. And not to shit on Fetterman's victory, but I also want to say, hold my dick, Doug Mastriano, who lost by 14 fucking points. Nazis can go to hell.
Historically bad candidate.
Yeah, he was trash, and he can suck the shit out of my ass. But that's not as important right now. What's important is it's big boy season. We're very proud of our large boy. Seen here at a Hip City Veg in Philly after I chased him down.
What is the official position of the podcast on John Fetterman, by the way? Is it just big man? Large reminds me of my largest relative.
He has generally been, I would say, better than other Democrats.
Above average. If you talk to some folks I know in Pittsburgh, they would say, well, he's not all he's cracked up to be. But he is.
Pittsburghers say that about fucking everyone is the thing.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that we have representation for like basketball shorts guys in the Senate. That's an underrepresented group in terms of like how much of America's population they are and how little sort of like elected representatives they have. So
I will say Fetterman, I think, is sort of is Pittsburgh's Larry Krasner, where I certainly have my issues with him, but given the sort of environment he's going into and given who he's replacing, I'm pretty happy. I'm very happy that Connor Lamb sucked shit in the primaries.
Yes.
I wouldn't have minded Malcolm Kenyatta, who still owes me for a pair of shoes.
How do you have these sort of like?
What to tell?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
you were both in the same fraternity, right?
Yeah.
So the midterms in general, like
shit and dies out of his lungs.
This is true. This is true. This is the unfortunate thing. I got cats and didn't realize I was a little bit allergic to them.
A little bit. Have you seen your eyes, sir?
Oh,
you are very allergic. Take Benadryl.
If you're nice curious cats. As to why we haven't recorded in 2 weeks, it's because Justin's eyelids have been like swollen shut the whole time.
That only happens in the mornings.
Or he was partying like the Wehrmacht in 1944 and got a little lost. That's a drug use reference, not a war crimes reference.
So the midterms in general, not bad. Like the Democrats kept the Senate.
Is the word I would use.
Yeah, we would have the thinnest Republican control of the House they've had, as far as I know, ever. And yeah, a bunch of sort of like humiliations. But Donald Trump is running again, and now the Republicans are eating themselves, trying to decide whether like he or Ron DeSantis, his like worst imitator,
most
is their boy.
Unlikable scumbag. Yes.
Well, this is the thing. Donald Trump is bigger than Ron DeSantis.
Yeah,
that's true. But he looks smaller now. He looks like he's sort of like shriveled. He looks like Ever since he stopped being president and they took him off the magic keep you alive juice that got him through COVID, he's been sort of like withering.
The shit that killed Anna Nicole Smith. Yes,
well,
he's been gone off that fen.
I think it's fucked up how they have a magic keep you alive drug.
They gotta put him back on the Diet Coke.
Oh fuck yeah!
The regular Coke. He doesn't eat. He doesn't drink
that garbage. Yeah.
I will say, the one thing that Twitter has been like, DeSantis, like Trump. I've said that I've got on about this is that Trump is not an especially like he doesn't tell good jokes, but his mannerisms are at least amusing.
Yeah, he's like, a showman in that sense.
That he is entertaining in sort of the worst sense of the word. But like DeSantis will just say, would you just shut the fuck up, man? Like he doesn't have that posters Bushido that Roz was talking about.
Yes.
It's so weird. It's so weird seeing him like consciously imitate Trump, a guy who is just a perfectly his own kind of psycho. Seeing someone else trying to do Donald Trump, like unironically, is very strange. And we're in for potentially years of it.
It's off-putting in like an uncanny valley way.
Yes.
It really is.
Trump is the most unself-conscious person around.
Right.
That's true.
He is a perfect ball of id.
Yeah.
And some of these other people have like little hang-ups or like they
insecurities or whatever, like
an insecurity of some kind,
right?
And it just totally prevent. Yeah, Trump doesn't have. I mean, people projected that onto him. I'm sure he doesn't actually care.
There are letters from him, like showing pictures of his hands that have been marked up to say "not so tiny," Roz.
Yeah, he does have like weird little grudges and stuff, but like compare that to DeSantis, who is essentially every other Republican in the sort of like boilerplate venal, I don't care about anything except power, as opposed to I'm still mad at Graydon Carter for an article in Spy magazine in 1996. Like that was something that only Trump could have done.
I do like this is the thing that got me about Mastriano. It's like it's all these guys trying to imitate Trump. And it's just, it does feel like uncanny valley shit to me. It really does. It feels just like if you took a computer that was really good at playing chess and then sort of wrapped it in human tissue, with just like, okay, I have to make this move and this move. Like the funny thing about Trump is that he has a memory of 30 seconds and knows what he's about to say for the next 15 seconds. And like all these other guys are like plotting out their moves well in advance. And Trump's like, fuck it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing and neither do you. Which like terrifying from a foreign policy perspective, but like amazing on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, he plays it entirely by ear. There is no long-term plan, which is ultimately that's probably going to be his undoing as the various sort of like lawsuits circle. But it was as part of his inimitability.
He gets his second Grover Cleveland term, and then he dies, and he's fine.
Doing the ultimate lib brain move, which is because Carrie Lake, the Republican candidate for governor in Arizona, who
also lost, suck shit,
who ate shit, as did most of her ilk, was like, Trump shouldn't have to run again because he already won, right? And the election was stolen from him. I think there's a possible lib variation of that conspiracy theory where you're like, Trump won the election, he had the vote stolen from him, and therefore he is now ineligible to run
under
again.
The 22nd Amendment. Yeah, I saw that take.
I feel like he's probably not eligible on account of running an insurrection, but
yeah. Well, I try not to go too lib brain on here, but sometimes I can't help it. Which is like, listen.
Thank you, Robert Mueller, for following through.
Everybody, listen. Every single fucking person who was involved on January 6th, they should have been rounded up, bust to Leavenworth, tried for treason in some sort of whatever, like 1948 Soviet era, like kangaroo court, and then buried in shallow graves. That should have taken 3 days. 3 days maximum.
Yeah, when you have a less effective punishment for treason than in the 1860s, even that's a concern.
Yeah, I forget what it is exactly in the Constitution. It's, I think, prison time of no less than 10 years and or death. It's death. You listen again. Authoritarianism bad. Whatever. The state shouldn't be in the process of executing people, but you do that. You commit treason and nah.
And the treason in furtherance of, again, the small hands guy, the failing bad food restaurant guy, that guy. That's your guy who you want to overthrow the Constitution and institute racial holy war for is Donald Trump.
I know we've talked shit on the Secret Service here before, but can you imagine being the poor son of a bitch that has to take a bullet for Eric Trump?
He's going to be reassigned soon. Don't worry.
What's really funny is I read this great book called Zero Fail, History of the Secret Service. I read that as background for the JFK thing, and I talk about it on there. Secret Service guys, the agents, they fucking love Trump because they're cops, and cops tend to be Republicans, right?
Right.
But they love Trump, and Trump treats them like absolute shit. It's a perfect little microcosm of that whole interaction of he's throwing empty Coke cans at them and shit, and they're like, oh fuck yeah, MAGA,
Bunch of fucking dweebs, man.
43 minutes into the episode.
I have one more thing to say, which is for those of you who are mad at me because I'm an anarchist and are like, why is he talking about executing the January 6th people?
We're very clear about this. You support the good treason, not the bad treason.
Yeah. You guys do Haymarket, that's fine. This is bullshit.
It's carry that thinking one step further. You're like, okay, you want to overthrow the democratic constitutional settlement of the United States, such as it is, in order to do what? Right?
Yeah. You gotta. I need a motive and a 1-page outline.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been the goddamn news.
How badly do you have to beef it to make us as leftists, as anarchists, not support bringing your own guillotine to the Capitol? That's a layup, and you miss
Nazis are running it.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. 44 minutes into the episode. That was the goddamn news.
Oh, this is gonna be a doozy. Oh.
Okay, so start out with, we need to talk about what is Great Yarmouth.
It's one of those seaside towns,
at
a
the
resort.
Easternmost point of Britain.
Yes.
Yes, it's in East Anglia, I want to say.
It's
at
the mouth.
Tell her about her own country. No, go on.
No, I know nothing about Great Yarmouth.
Men are trash.
I know nothing about Great Yarmouth. My own sense of my country's geography is very flawed.
It's at the easternmost point of Britain. It is at the mouth of the River Yar.
Yar.
Yeah.
Hence Yarmouth. Yes.
But listen, we're not very good at naming things. Explain what a resort town is. So this is largely a Victorian phenomenon. Once we sort of started developing a leisure class, people had like money, they could take holidays, they had weekends because of unions. They could take that time off and they could go somewhere slightly nicer than the slums and industrial hellscapes in which they inhabited. And most of the time that was you go to the seaside. And this is promoted as like a health cure. This is sort of the birth of like internal domestic tourism. And a lot of places that had been sort of like sleepy little fishing towns or whatever built promenades and built piers and built like sort of like seaside attractions so that you could take your whole fucking little Victorian family and go and eat like Victorian ice cream or whatever.
It's also all like 20 miles away tops because Britain is an island.
Yes,
so it's sort of like Atlantic City was to Philly and New York City.
It's a huge spur for railways too. Because how are you going to get there? You're not taking a cart, a horse-drawn cart or whatever. So this sort of like is very influential in the development of some railways, particularly London to Brighton. And so Great Yarmouth is certainly not the most famous of these, which is why I don't know where it fucking is, but it's on the list. Like a lot of these places are quite grim now because people don't go on holiday inside Britain anymore. People don't really like it's
you just ruined Mallorca.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but that could change thanks to Brexit.
Maybe
once they finally ban British people from other countries.
Weather's getting better all the time because of climate.
Britain's getting better all the time.
No, the weather in Britain is getting better all the time. It's getting positively Mediterranean in England during the summer. So
how's that for your skin tone, Alice?
Oh, dreadful!
So this says here's the town hall. This is the Britannia Pier down here.
Check out those check out those listings. We've got Jimmy Carr. We've got Roy Chubby Brown, sort of like very 70s music hall comedian who can only play these sorts of venues because he's so racist. Jim Davidson, much the same.
Does this say
and the Chuckle Brothers? Yeah, the Chuckle Brothers. This is a serious country. This is a real country that I'm from.
Sorry, what is this building top right? This is very pretty.
That's the town hall.
That's the town hall.
Oh, wow, something pretty in Britain. Who knew? We don't have those over here, town halls.
You have a fundamental issue with Britain is there's too many comedians per capita.
That's true.
Well, no, that implies the comedians are actually funny.
Whoa, hold on.
Attempted comedy with intent to do numbers. I'm making it worse myself.
You're under arrest for attempted comedy. Conspiracy to
comedy.
License
for that. I'm not doing the fucking accent.
You're on license for that comedy.
Here's the Regent Street shopping promenade down here.
Grim.
I kind of like it. There's a bowling alley. I like bowling alleys.
Yeah, bowling's good. Is that like the tiny pin bowling though, or is that real bowling?
Oh, like candlestick bowling, pin, right?
Yeah. And then you got the beach promenade down here.
Yeah, that looks like hot ass.
Hey, at least it's a sand beach. Like some of these aren't. Like Brighton's fucking pebbles. You're like, oh, how great!
Yeah, we don't have those in America. We don't have sand beaches in America.
I can go and walk around on like stones on my vacation. Great.
No. What this should be is
mini golf.
A giant dune here, right? And then this side is just parking lots and mini golf. That's what it should be.
Mini golf. On the shitty wine bars in Asbury Park.
Yes. So this is Great Yarmouth. There's two rivers in Great Yarmouth, right? There's the Yar.
Oh, beautiful satellite image. This is horrifying.
Yes.
Why is it so brown?
So British rivers are very brown for two reasons. One, we keep dumping untreated sewage into them, and we do that a lot lately. The other is that we have a very sort of sedimentary like river system. It picks up a lot of silt. We almost never dredge rivers really, and like as a result, everything's this shit brown color.
Well, I was reminded of that. What's it? The Top Gear episode where the guy walks across the hull or something.
Yeah.
So you got the Yar. The Yar is the big river, but a smaller river also intersects it, called the Bur. That's this guy here.
This is just sounds. This is too Anglo-Saxon for me. It's just like, yeah, you've got the
yeah, and then here's the train station. This is going to be important later. And then here is a crossing.
I predicted the fucking thing without even reading the slides ahead of time.
This crossing here is where our subject is.
Oh boy.
So the Bur is not a very big river, but it's big enough to be annoying, right?
You can't wade across it, I presume.
You can't wade across it. There's not a lot of wood or stone around to build a bridge because everything's marshland for like miles and miles around. There were no bridges in Yarmouth proper for a very long time. Instead, there was a ferry at this location until 1829.
It's wild how much marshier England's coastline used to be, like even up until that point. Just generally like a lot more sort of like fucking coalesced, I guess.
Yes.
I want to go to the Premier Inn, Great Yarmouth West on the 847.
No, you don't. No,
yes,
you don't.
I
I'm
do.
sure that what is a Premier Inn?
Oh, I assume it's bad.
A Premier Inn is like a budget brand of hotels. Of the budget brands of hotels, it's not the worst, and you can count that as a paid endorsement, I guess. They're fine. Like don't expect luxury or anything, but if you want somewhere to pass out for like, overnight,
you could do worse. Sleep, yeah.
Yeah. They don't tend to have bugs in them.
I'm sitting here at my computer, and Pizza Boy has just sat down at the radiator in front of me, and now he's giving me the stink eye. I don't know why.
It's so fucking hot in your house.
That's true. I have cats now, folks. One of them's named Pizza Boy. The other one's named Milkshake.
Incredible.
Yes. All right. So we also have to talk about suspension bridges.
Ooh, can we have Devin put up like a couple of photos of the cats if you supply those at this point?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Adorable.
Okay. So we're talking about early suspension bridges, right? So our earliest type of suspension bridge, right, this is the simple suspension bridge, right? You have some ropes or some cables or something. You have a deck suspended underneath by ropes, or in this case, by planks. They follow the curve of the ropes, right?
And your hero gets like halfway across it, and then the bad guy starts cutting the ropes.
He gets the saw out, starts cutting the ropes. Yeah.
And then hopefully you survive it in Shrek.
Mm-hmm. And then this guy named Thang Tong Gyalpo, right? He was Tibetan. He invented the chain suspension bridge in 1430-ish. This is the Shushol Chaksam.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, sure, why not? But this went over a river in Tibet. It was built in 1430-ish. Survived until 1960 when the Chinese Communist Party replaced it with a concrete bridge.
No sense of romance.
I was about to say, yeah. But your sort of suspension bridge with the flat deck and the hangers is an old idea. It just was not commonly implemented for a while because this is so much easier, and you didn't necessarily have a lot of spots where it was practical to do so.
Wait a second. This bridge on the bottom left here, I've played the most recent Fallout game that wasn't an MMO. I recognize this fucking bridge.
This is an underspan suspension bridge, relatively rare kind today, but you have a pair of wires, and then you build the superstructure of the bridge on top of the wires, and you have
Six Flags over the shittier parts of Chernobyl.
Yeah.
I like this. I think this is pretty. I mean, not in this state necessarily, but
I stole that joke from Archer.
Yeah. This is not an especially common type of bridge because it's weird and unnecessary. I think the biggest example is the Kellums Bridge on the Delaware River. You can see that this span goes way down under the deck and then comes back up. It was built in 1889. But a lot of things that these early bridges had in common. So early on, they were built with chains, but then they switched to something called I-bars, right?
Mm-hmm. Go back to the very, very first episode if you want to
throw back
hear
to
more about those.
1.
The pre-Liam era, even.
Yes.
Back before we knew we needed a third person to be funny.
Yes. So I-bars.
Better than one person interrupting Roz. 2 people interrupting Roz.
That's right.
What is an I-bar?
It's a bar with the hole at each end.
Yes. You can see here, this is on one of the Three Sisters bridges in Pittsburgh. There's a bar. It has a hole at each end. Through that, you put a pin in there, right? And the pin connects several bars together. And then there's hangers on here that support the bridge deck, right? That's an I-bar. These were really popular in the 1800s. Now, if you go back to episode 1, I explained a lot about truss theory and how you built to the theory as opposed to having a theory that was described around what you had built before to explain it. This is not strictly true. I would revise myself here because the theory came well after the adoption of the I-bar, right? Because the I-bar is sort of, in this case, a development of the concept of the chain. We just have, rather than having several chain links, we have these much larger
like me
members.
In history looks at a chain and goes, make it more rigid, and they were right to do it.
Yes, yes.
But what's going to become crucial here, we have to talk about how were these made, right? Especially in the 1820s, really early metallurgy. How does this happen?
We're pre-steel, we're pre-Bessemer process, certainly. Yes. So we're doing either cast or wrought iron, yeah?
Yes.
You're mostly like a one-way ticket to Collapseville. Am I wrong?
In this case, it is mostly wrought iron. Most of these I-bars are going to be forged in 3 sections. You have the eye, you have the eye, and then you have the bar.
It's got two glowing weak points in it.
Yes. And at these joints, you do forge welding, right? And forge welding is how we welded things before we had, electric arc welding or even oxyacetylene welding, right?
You can still see it done if you watch any of these blacksmithing shows. If you watch Forged in Fire or whatever, you can see them fucking forge weld billets of shit together to make a knife.
And so what you do is, you take you roughly get your eye into shape and your other eye into shape. You get the bar into shape, right? And then you sort of have to add a join in there. In this case, it's based on carpentry, right? In this case, we're looking at a scarf joint here. This is a very simple one. A more complex one would be something like this bolt of lightning joint here, which is designed to actually take stresses. But it's a carpentry joint, but you try and do it in metal, right? And then what you do is you heat up the parts, and then you hit them with a hammer until they're welded together. And this is how you do welding until the 1870s when they figure out the oxyacetylene torch. And it was still common until World War I when they figured out modern electric arc welding, right?
It'd be very funny to imagine a guy putting down a modern welding helmet in order to hit 2 billets of metal with a hammer for an hour.
Oh no, you just burned out your eyes back then.
Yeah.
So this is again, this is one of the Three Sisters bridges in Pittsburgh. The eye bars we're talking about are some which are much more slender, like these on I forget which bridge this is.
Neither one of us is thrown off the side of this one.
Yes.
Wait, what?
So we've told this story, but Roz and I once went on a, how would you say this, baton death march from the south side of
that was the hot metal
yes
bridge.
I know, I fucking know.
It has nothing to do with
I know what bridge this is. God damn, dude, you and I have walked over this bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
Right, yeah, I was just saying it's not relevant to the conversation.
Alice asked a question which
I
was
stopped us.
Yeah. I didn't actually throw up off the bridge.
Introducing like
I didn't throw
objection relevance in each podcast is a 10-minute long episode.
No, I did not throw up off the hot metal bridge.
Are you sure? Yes. Oh no, you almost threw up off the bridge.
I almost threw up off the hot metal bridge.
Actually, he did dry heave. I thought he puked, and then he decided to do like what I can only describe as a Usain Bolt pace up the giant fucking hill on Boulevard of the Allies. So I had to make him stop every 10 seconds, faking a leg cramp so he wouldn't overexert himself into throwing up. And then we got Panera the next morning. It was the worst day of my fucking life. And I threw up on the side of 376.
It was not Boulevard of the Allies. It was Bates Street.
Fucking whatever, man.
Was it Bates Street? Yeah, it was Boulevard. Bates Street.
It was Boulevard of the Allies.
Objection
Boulevard
relevance.
of the Allies does not go up the hill.
No, it doesn't go up the hill. You're right. Now I feel like I'm a pretender. I was very drunk. There were $2 doubles in that tiki basement bar.
Yeah, exactly. I knew exactly where I was at all times during that incident in Pittsburgh.
You're very sober drunk when you drink, I guess.
Yeah, he knows where he is until he doesn't.
Okay. So
the 7 train is only like a quarter-mile walk. It fucking wasn't. It was a mile and a half with a backpack full of beers. It was horrible.
That was the problem. I was relatively sober for that one.
There you go.
Yeah. So hi, it's Justin. So this is a commercial for the podcast that you're already listening to. People are annoyed by these, so let me get to the point. We have this thing called Patreon, right? The deal is you give us $2 a month, and we give you an extra episode once a month. Sometimes it's a little inconsistent, but it's $2. You get what you pay for. It also gets you our full back catalog of bonus episodes, so you can learn about exciting topics like guns, pickup trucks, or pickup trucks with guns on them. The money we raise through Patreon goes to making sure that the only ad you hear on this podcast is this one. Anyway, that's something to consider if you have $2 to spare each month. Join at patreon.com/WTYP pod. Do it if you want. Or don't. It's your decision, and we respect that. Back to the show. This is an 1820s eye bar. It's a very thin, spindly affair. Your 1820s metallurgy wasn't very good. There's not too many methods of determining the quality of material. Mm-hmm. You just kind of got what you got. You hope the local blacksmith was competent at his job, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the bridge in question. Yeah. So there were 4 sets of 7/8 inch thick eye bars on each side of the deck, right?
That's pretty slender.
This looks like it's going to go poorly.
Between the two decks was 92 feet, or between the two anchorages, excuse me, right? There is a 63-foot clear span.
I actually have a question, right? which seems stupid, but in the spirit of Alice's simply make it more rigid, why not simply add more eye bars? Mm-hmm. Or does it not matter?
Costs money.
Okay, yeah.
It costs money.
So someone has to
like
hit
they're doing it all by
hand,
hand, so it'll cost over. Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah. There is a 63-foot clear span, a 14-foot 9-inch wide deck, and the river is a whopping 7 feet deep. The total area of this bridge is smaller than that of my apartment.
79 people drowned because they can't swim. This is pathetic.
This is not a big bridge.
Yeah.
The engineer Joseph John Scholes was in charge, but he never actually supervised the construction. Right? Scholes had just returned from the Grand Tour. He went to Egypt. He went to Syria. He went to Greece. He went to Italy. He was publishing archaeological drawings and studies in London. And he was engineering this bridge entirely by correspondence.
Oh, fuck me. That's perfect. Distance engineering. You're just most of the time looking at my little fucking Canalettos or whatever, and then occasionally I get a letter that's like bridge progress. It's still up for now.
Still up. It's there. Got the material. Hope to see you soon.
See, nobody wants to go to Great Yarmouth as well. Is the other thing going on?
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Back then.
Not even stop, because this is like pre-telegraph, I think. It's more like sort of like handwritten cursive.
Yeah, this is all being delivered. Like the fastest way they can deliver it is like by canal boat or some garbage.
Send feed pics. Send feed pics.
I hope this letter finds you well.
Send feed pics to Roz. Don't send them to me.
Don't send me feed pics. It was opened on the 23rd of April, 1829, and the ceremony was the first time that Scholes visited the site.
Taking credit for a group project in which you did none of the work.
Yeah, Brady.
Yeah, see, it's got my name on the side.
Look at me.
As it's swaying.
This was originally intended as a footbridge with a single carriageway, but is it Ackle? Is it Assel? What is it?
With British place names, there is no telling. Could be literally anything.
I don't know. The road that went to the next town was rerouted over the bridge in 1832 as a result of the railroad reaching Great Yarmouth. So they needed to widen the bridge for horses and carts to pass each other. How do you do that?
You put a lay-by in the middle, like a passing lane, like when you don't want to like do a double track railroad. You just have a little platform out in the middle, just over like clear water, and you just like step onto that when you need to like get passed by something.
What they actually did is they decided,
damn it,
everything
I like my little idea.
Everything between the cables is the cartway now, and then they added 2 feet for sidewalk on each side.
Okay, so they just simply made it bigger, but not any good. Okay,
they just widened it.
Hotty toddy,
they did not make it stronger.
Make it exactly as rigid.
Yes, but just widen it a bit. And the strand between the eye bars was now the cartway, and the sidewalks were cantilevered off the side. It's done. No strengthening. No reconsidering the engineering. Works fine. Again, this is a really small bridge.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who showed up once to look at it presumably is not that invested in its sort of upgrade either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny bridge. It's going to be fine.
Tiny little sort of bridge over a sort of tiny, unimportant river in a, at this point, still unimportant town. It's like, what's the worst that can happen?
Well, the problem is we got better transportation. We got, all this kind of technological improvement. People want amusements, and this is where we get the traveling circus.
Roz, you have to do it. Washington drawn by 4 real geese. Why are they specifying that it's real? Alfred's
violating fake geese.
The bottle imp. What else we got? Mesmerism. Rock Harmonicon. 5 days at Hong Kong.
That's a good name for a band.
It will be the great banquet night. first night of Mr. William Cook as clown. Oh boy, this guy looks like he's like.
There's a lot of typesetting going on in this leaflet.
There was like a I every once in a while you think about it, like, okay, you could use like 2 or 3 fonts, and then it's like you look at these old.
I paid for the whole font book. I'm going to use the whole font book.
I'm gonna use the whole font book. Yeah.
Breaks up the text a bit,
Every different size of text is a different font. There's your problem right there. So, in our case, we're talking about Cook's Royal Circus, which was founded in 1784. This is, I believe it's Thomas Cook. I didn't write it down in the notes.
Oh wait, I see. Reading the flyer, a problem. Mr. Nelson, seen here, our Klansman-looking clown, will sail on the River Bure, starting from Yarmouth Bridge to Vauxhall Gardens, in a common washing tub drawn by 4 real geese.
Yes.
So that's the big event of this circus. First of all, there was fuck all going on.
This was a promotional event.
What is going on?
The actual circus.
What is mesmerism? Oh, clairvoyance. Oh, okay. Man, this is real good on my eyes.
So they're gonna put a clown in a bathtub and like harness some geese to it, and
that's I don't just make him go in a bathtub.
The problem with these old advertisements is that you had to alternately get real close in and then walk back to figure out what they're saying.
So shit, they actually call him a clown of infinite jest too, which is cool. It's a fucking Hamlet reference. It predates fucking the guy.
It's not a bad book. It's just really fucking annoying.
All right. So this is one of those family circuses. It had contortionists, it had strongmen, but the main thing is they had a bunch of horse riding bullshit tricks. It's like it's like these guys are good at horses. Wow, watch this shit happen. But they also had clowns, right? So in 1845, they came to Great Yarmouth, and to advertise the circus, they put a real clown in a wash tub and floated him down the River Bure, pulled by 4 real geese.
Yeah, not loving that they have to
sell you the whole goose, but you'll only need the edge.
In actuality, there was a rowboat, and a guy was rowing the boat, and there was a tow line under the water, hauling the bathtub with the clown in it. And the
really
geese were just sort of along with the ride.
Really spoiling my illusions of the circus here. You know that music is intended to evoke the fucking entrance of the gladiators.
Gladiators, yes.
To the much deadlier kind of Roman circus, right?
Question mark. So this was intended to happen on the 2nd of May, 1845, which was a Friday, and it was after 5 p.m. There's nothing else for anyone to do. We're gonna watch the clown go by with the geese.
If I know British people, and I do, the sort of heavy inference here is we're gonna throw some shit at this clown.
I wonder. I didn't see anything about them throwing stuff at the guy.
I live in Philly. I would have hucked a battery at him. Be more entertaining. God.
You imagine they try this on a Schuylkill?
Dude, I would go out there. We'd steal the boats from the Temple Boathouse and just go, I don't know, piracy this fucking guy.
Yes.
I don't want to hang out with Klansman the Clown. Klansman the Clown. It's a tongue twister.
Clownsman the Clown.
Thousands of spectators thronged the banks of the River Bure. They were all there to see the clown.
Oh, you probably come into town and like shitty little Great Yarmouth is like your big town. And you're like, yes. I'm gonna see the clown. It'll be like the most exciting thing I see for the fucking.
It was that in Norwich, I believe. Norwich is the next closest town.
Oh God.
300 of them crowded the southeastern corner. A lot of this was referenced as the southeastern corner, which I have read to mean the downstream side of the bridge. And this is far from a fully loaded bridge, right? There's a lot of people, like 4 or 5 people deep, trying to watch the clown go by, but the cartway is fully passable. They're all crowded on the sidewalk, right?
It's like unevenly loaded, but like not sort of
like absurdly overloaded. At least you would think so. Now, around 5:40 p.m., a loud snapping sound was heard.
Oh, good.
Spent an eye-bar had failed in the downstream suspension span.
But surely they're redundant, right?
The bridge was fine. Yeah.
Hey,
safety margin.
Some people noticed it and they're like, "Oh, probably fine." No one moved.
Yeah.
Except I believe one horse and cart where the horse refused to get on the bridge.
All right. For once, a horse is a smart animal.
Horse.
Yeah, horses are very smart sometimes.
The only one.
Very dumb in general, but very smart when a human is about to make them murder themselves.
Right.
They prefer to murder themselves when they feel like it.
Right.
Just authentically, yeah.
Yeah. So the first eye bar went, and there's 2 chains of eye bars on each side. And 5 minutes later, the second eye bar went.
Oop.
Oh.
As a result, the bridge sort of rotated into the river. The other side held fast, but that side just dumped everyone in the river. And the crowd, which was mostly children, was all forced against the railing as they plunged into the river.
So crowd crush plus drowning. Cool.
Yes, you were crushed and
horrible way to go out.
Awesome. Yeah. Love a double death. Love a double quarter pounder death with cheese.
In 7 feet of water.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you die in this? It's 7 feet deep and you're not falling that deep, far. Yeah. And the answer is apparently you get slammed into like a wrought iron railing.
Yes, and then you're also like pretty close to shore as well. Like, there's people who just jump in and can walk over to to get people out.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
79 people?
79 people, 59 of which were children.
Jeez.
Fuck, that's so many.
Don't like that.
With like, it is so easy to kill a child, it turns out. Like, almost too easy, some would say.
Oh, I can't wait for that to be on the WTYP out of context thing. But yeah, it's really easy to kill a kid.
It's pretty easy to kill a kid. I mean, but the other thing is, this is sometimes it's pretty hard to kill a kid. I mean, kids are pretty resilient. You can throw them against walls and shit,
All you got to do with a toddler, is when they fall to the ground, you do not acknowledge that they're hurt.
Yes.
Do not acknowledge it. You don't acknowledge it. Unless they're bleeding out of their skull, you simply carry on.
They'll just run headfirst into walls like constantly.
Dude, kids are like gnomes that are constantly on fucking suicide watch. Please stop sticking that fork in places. Like, I am begging you.
This is one of the rare cases where the kids are actually getting hurt and dying.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
like there's a bunch of like Georgian dads off to the side, like walk it off.
Walk it off.
Okay, buddy, swim out of the river and we'll figure it out.
It's whatever. It's like
Timothy, if you died, you deserved it.
They're gonna have like 14 more kids. Only 3 of them survived childbirth anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like this is the all of your kids I lost.
Yeah, and like probably of like the most comprehensible cause. Like all of your other kids died of like ague or like slightly too cold or something like that. And
diphtheria, right?
Well, exactly.
Of the 59 kids, 43 of them belong to 3 families, and they have 75 others.
Can you not be discriminatory against the Irish for once in your life, man? We don't know what else to do. We grow potatoes and have sex with each other. That's all we're good at.
Fiddly dee, potatoes.
Yeah. Let's all settle down there, Poland.
You watch out. I'll invoke Article 5.
I was going to say, what are you going to do? Distill some vodka
about it?
Join the Baltic States suicide pact that seems to be developing.
Yeah. Hey, it was a Russian missile. No, wait a second. Everybody calm down.
Just oh my God, every foreign minister sort of like east of the Oder being like, tie me to a missile and fire it at the Kremlin.
That's pretty funny. So the official account says survivors were taken by mostly rescued by nearby boats. I get the feeling that a lot of them were able to walk out or were rescued by people walking into this exceptionally shallow river.
That one guy with the top hat on the right bank there just has a pole. I bet that's probably like handy. Just hands you the pole.
He was the pole guy.
Yeah.
Just stands around.
About to invoke Article 5.
Yes. And then all the survivors were taken to local pubs to warm up. Yes.
Okay. 19th century medicine. You got to give this child like six glasses of brandy.
Of warm flat beer. Yes.
Well, this is one of those disasters where you sort of either died instantly or lived with no injuries. There were not a lot of people who were seriously injured. I think there was some hypothermia, which was treated by, I want to say, a local brewery, which is like, yeah, we got tanks of hot water, dunk them in there, which is probably actually very bad for them.
Coming out that's smelling like a mash tun,
That's not a great way to recover from, Oh yeah, they definitely reuse that water for beer.
And it's still better than what the Belgians make.
But this leads us to a question: like,
what happened to the clown?
What happened to the clown? I don't know what happened.
I hope I don't know, some sort of rescue washing tub, tactical washing tub.
What happened to the clown? What happened to the geese? These are my questions.
Yes. All right, so this is obviously a tragic incident in Victorian, I guess it would be Victorian because 1845. Britain. So a guy named James Walker, who was a previous president of the British Institute of Civil Engineers, was commissioned by Her Majesty's government to inquire into what happened, right? And what he found was Joseph John Scholl's specs were correct. He specified the correct kind of iron, the correct type of joints, so on and so forth. And simply neglected to test anything, right? Just
I wasn't going to come up from London for it.
Yeah, he was on the Grand Tour, man.
Yeah, I was about to say they haven't built a railway out there yet. I mean, well, when they built this bridge, there wasn't any railways. So there was no testing. Simply trusted the suppliers and the contractors. He had no way of knowing anything because he designed the whole bridge remotely, right? And what it was determined that happened was both of the bridges broke at the forge welds, right? Walker said, I had the quality of the iron tried in a variety of ways by an intelligent blacksmith, Mr. Good.
The normal stupid kind.
No, this guy was named Mr. Good, which I assume means he's good.
Yeah. Determinism is big here, folks.
Yes. And I found that the straight or middle part of the bar was much better than the ends, which are of a very coarse and inferior kind. What that sort of indicates to me is that the actual iron bar was probably wrought iron, and then the eyes were cast iron, which is much more brittle. It sounds like you're sort of joining different kinds of iron. I am not sure about that. I should have. But Walker's report was pretty damning. He said that even if the iron had been good, what we'd now call the factor of safety on the bridge was clearly too low, right? He estimated the crowd load to be about 44 tons, while the bridge could have handled, if it was constructed correctly, 56 tons. And his conclusion was...
But for cheap, shitty iron.
Yes. His bridge should not have been constructed so lightly if it were for public use, right? Because occasionally you have a public bridge, there's going to be a crowd on there for some reason. Maybe because there's a clown in town.
Yeah, you need to build in the clown factor at all times.
I said, the general conclusions to which I have come are as follows. Number one, I consider that the immediate cause of the accident was a defect in the joining or welding of the bar, which first gave way. Number two, the quality of the iron and the workmanship, as far as I was able to examine them, was defective. And although I think it was probable that the accident would not have happened if the work had been properly examined and tested at the time of construction, still I consider that the strength of the bridge, even if the iron had been good, was not sufficient for ensuring stability.
I love a 19th century engineer because something that would now be 6 sentences is one very conjoined one.
Yes.
Number three, that the widening appears to be injudicious and made without sufficient reference to the original strength of the bridge and the weight which it had to support, and therefore it operated as an aggravation of the evil.
Sick.
In this case, what he's talking about is the second link that broke lengthened several inches before it broke. Yes. So that thing was working, but again, it ultimately aggravated the evil.
You don't want to aggravate that.
Don't want to aggravate the evil. No.
Aggravate the evil.
Number four, then the original construction of the bridge, the casualty of great load, all on one side, does not appear to have been contemplated. If it had been, I think that the chain on that side would have consisted of more than 2 bars, any one of which, taken separately, was unequal to the load which the bridge was likely to carry.
One thing strikes me. This is a surprisingly comprehensive sort of engineering inquiry for 1845. Sort of the state of the art, the state of engineering at this point is we just about worked out how to make a train not explode, right? And here we are doing admittedly sort of flowerily worded, but quite functional analysis here.
I mean, you got to remember, we got all of Protestantism out of an engineering report from the 1400s.
Everyone's a conservationist until they see the estimate, Rose.
Yes. Thank you, Alberte.
So it's not clown-proof, is the answer.
Yeah. Walker is saying, the bridge was underbuilt to start out with, and was built with bad materials and bad techniques. Who could have known this without actually visiting the job site?
Did this spur any regulations requiring architects or engineers to actually look at shit themselves?
So I think by this time you had some regulations, but this was built before that. What I do know is that Scholes suffered basically no professional consequences for this accident.
Yeah.
Continued to design buildings, mostly churches, until his death in 1863.
I was about to joke when we were hearing about him the first time that, according to the laws of the time, he has done nothing wrong. I wasn't prepared to be that right, but
he wasn't even disgraced.
No, of course not.
It was not even
happens to the best of us.
Happens to the best of us. Yeah.
Who's among us?
Who hasn't collapsed a bridge onto a bunch of children?
Listen, at the time it was fine to do that.
You're gonna have 9 more anyway.
Well, what did we learn?
Killing kids is bad generally,
and surprisingly easy in this instance.
Engineers
easy and consequence-free
failures. Yeah.
I should have mentioned the bad technique in specifically that was cited was that one of the forge welds had something like a quarter of an inch of actual weld in it. It was just done poorly.
Yeah. Not enough hammering. You got to hammer the stuff together.
Not enough heat, not enough hammering.
Guy hits it one time. He's like, well, that's fine.
Oh no!
I wonder if did they have a? Well, no, because it's very flat. They probably didn't have a water hammer. It was probably actually a guy with the hammer who had to do it.
Yeah. And he was thinking about how, in 20 years' time, that bridge is going to be used to view clowns. Gets distracted. Doesn't hit the thing enough, and kills a bunch of kids. For want of a nail kind of stuff,
I never knew that this one hammer strike would mean the death of 59 children 16 years from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, skulls came off fine.
They rebuilt the bridge.
Eventually, yes. There's a new bridge in the same location, but it is not in use. I believe the actual road bridge is farther upriver. It is still a pedestrian bridge and is the closest one to the train station. But it's a truss bridge now because, again, this is a hilariously short bridge. It is smaller than my apartment. It's incredible that it managed to kill this many people.
Let that be a lesson to you. If anyone sort of derides you, just consider you have the potential to do great things.
Yes,
far beyond your seeming sort of
even if you kill some kids, it doesn't matter. Don't worry.
Great things come in small packages.
Yeah, death tolls mostly.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a segment on this podcast called Safety Third.
Shake hands for danger.
Oh boy. Hold on.
What are we looking at here?
We are looking at vats of acid.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's what the goop is. Okay.
Yes. Hello, Justin, Alice, Liam, and whoever else may be present.
They're not. Fuck you.
Hedging your bets. Weak.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
Yeah. I've been binging your podcast while playing Monster Hunter, and I cannot get enough of it. Something about using a hammer to bludgeon dragons to death while listening to three people smarter than myself talk about engineering disasters is endlessly entertaining. I was about to say,
generous.
Yeah, a very
1.5 people.
I'm flattered. However, listening to tales of train crashes, bridge collapses, and other examples of incompetence leading to disaster got me thinking of my old job because, oh boy, it's legitimately a miracle I'm still alive. I worked in a wire mill, in a wire cleaning department.
That's one of those things, right, where it's totally unremarkable product. And you're like, oh, cool. How do you make that? Let's do a fun little how it's made segment about this. And the answer is, oh yeah, we just we flay a bunch of people's skin off to make this. It's just always been like that.
This is the vat of acid episode of Well, There's Your Problem. The mill I worked at was 119 years old with fourth generation workers when I quit, and it showed. The entire mill was falling apart. Our millwrights and our electricians were constantly bouncing from department to department, fixing catastrophic problems. There was still infrastructure to accommodate donkeys that had never been removed.
Cool.
What?
Inches of dust coated some unused areas, and the dust in the air caused sinus headaches in new hires that were seen as a rite of passage.
I'm enjoying the sort of wooden gantry in the picture on the left that looks about 100 years old also.
It looks like this is something that was being pulled by donkeys. I don't think it is. This company has a spectacular 5-step approach to safety. It was truly a work of genius that only the mind of a corporate demon could come up with. Number 1, ignore blatant OSHA violations and serious hazards until someone gets seriously hurt or dies.
Classic.
Number 2, pay out a settlement. Number 3, put in half-assed safety measures so OSHA goes away. Number 4, return to status quo. Number 5, see step 1. To give you an idea what serious injury meant to this company, oh, by the way, content warning for our listeners right now, if you are squeamish, this one does get ugly.
Great.
To give you an idea of what serious injury meant to this company, only serious dismemberment and injuries of that nature received any response. And all of the wire drawers who had worked for more than 13 years there were missing fingers.
More than 13 is a curiously statistical figure.
Yeah.
So it speaks to authenticity there that you went and tabulated that, you know?
This place likely took years off my life as well. Typically, a lifer would put in his 30 years, retire, live 5 to 10 years, then kick it. But sometimes an especially lucky retiree would make it to his 70s before dying. This is how pensions used to work. Now, this is the most...
How do you think unions accumulated pension funds? It was working jobs that killed you.
That killed you, yeah. This was the most miserable job I ever worked in my life, but with endless overtime, 80-plus hours a week, rather consistently, and with the aforementioned disregard for safety. This place was notorious for being a hell on earth that pays you a load of money for as long as you can tolerate it.
Bumping the chemical workers song once again at this point.
Yes. As you could probably guess from the name of my department, we cleaned 2-ton coils of steel wire via a process called pickling.
Charming.
The coils came out of the foundry with a protective coating on them that we called scale. Using a circle crane, which I believe is this guy here. Yeah. Using a circle crane, we would set them in one of 5 boxes of sulfuric acid and water that we kept around 140 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit to strip
it's
off.
So insulting that acid works better when it's hot. It really just adds insult to injury to be like, oh, there's acid, but also it's hot acid.
It's hot acid, yeah.
Not only will this kill you, but it will hurt the entire time you're dying.
To strip off the scale and dirt that accumulated during storage, and after about 15 minutes in the acid bath, we would lift them out, rinse them off in a water bath, then coat them in quicklime, kept about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, bake them at 500 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 minutes, and finally send them to the wire drawers, who would draw them down to size. I guess that's drawers. Drawers?
Drawers, yeah.
Yeah. So that, this is the crane. This is the vat of hot acid here.
Uh-huh.
Now let's get into the title incident. And again, this is the last time for squeamish people to bail. You may notice the pictures of the acid boxes and circle crane. There aren't any safety rails to prevent people from falling into the really hot sulfuric acid.
What the fuck sentence is that?
Fuck safety rails. There aren't any markings. If you... How much does some paint cost? Yeah.
Don't fall in this.
Paint the edge of it yellow or something, you know? Elon Musk does that even.
Don't breathe this.
Fuck.
Well, we had taken notice of this and we had made mention of it for multiple generations of workers. We had told corporate for years that if someone tripped in the raised area behind the boxes, they would fall directly in. Because the platforms were barely 2 feet wide at points, with a sheer wall on one side and scalding death on the other.
Ooh.
The raised area was slightly before the rim of the acid boxes, and essentially, if you weren't paying attention, you could walk right off the platform into the acid box.
No, thank you.
Thankfully, as you can see, the production area didn't have this problem, but the production area is not where the incident occurred. They eventually did install safety rails, but from the company's 5-step approach to safety, you can probably guess what had to happen first. You may reasonably assume that the company's reluctance to install safety measures in these areas might well have been motivated by a lack of use, but you'd be wrong. Not only was it common to go behind the boxes, but it was something we would do multiple times per day, to drain and refill the acid boxes, as the high iron suction lines and low iron refill lines were behind the boxes.
I guess grating, the justification for that is, well, you're in and out there all the time, and none of you have been scalded to death.
Right?
Yeah. Y'all ain't falling in yet. The grating behind the boxes was acid resistant, but the anchor points were all wood and metal, so the platforms were just not secured to anything and were just kind of balanced on wooden struts that we prayed wouldn't fail.
Oh, fuck my ass.
The valve handles on the drain and fill lines were also oriented so that in order to open them, you needed to pull them up and towards you. So theoretically, if a handle were to break off while you were pulling on it, you would trip backward towards the acid.
Ooh.
So to recap, all of the platforms behind the boxes of blazing hot acid with no safety rails were less than 2 feet wide and would move under your feet. And the high iron valve handle to box number 4, the box with the skinniest platform behind it, had been seized shut for a couple of days.
Yeah, at this point, no.
Now, this was taken after OSHA came in. But the railing, circled in red, didn't used to be there. You would have to shimmy between that wall and the acid boxes to get to the drain and refill lines. The board, circled in blue, may not look like it, but is completely corroded and used to support the acid-resistant platform that we stood on to get to the drain and refill lines.
What the fuck, man?
Enter Jay. Now, Jay was a rather big guy who ran the circle crane. And after a day of production, Jay had to drain box 4. He knew that its high iron valve had been seized for a couple of days, but figured he would try and pull it open himself a couple times before he called a millwright to break it open and manually clear the buildup. He pulled it hard, and it didn't budge. Again, last time to drop out, folks. He changed his stance, pulled even harder. It didn't budge.
Jesus.
Finally, had one last push before he called the millwrights and sat down for the day. He really put his back into it. He pulled with all his might.
We'll get punished for working hard, won't we?
Yeah. The handle broke off. The momentum from his effort propelled him backward, causing the platform to shift underneath him and dump him into the box of 150-degree Fahrenheit acid.
Fuck no, dude.
As he fell, he managed to get the side of the box with his arm and pull himself upwards, so his face was only submerged for a tenth of a second. He managed to scramble out of the box and fall to the ground. Thankfully, my coworkers who were on production that day heard him, rushed him to a wash station, and called an ambulance. He managed to survive.
Jesus Christ.
3rd-degree burns over 85% of his body, but alive nonetheless.
Fuck.
However, the only reason he is alive, he said, the will not to scream when he fell in. Otherwise, he would have gotten too much acid in his system
mouth.
and almost certainly would have passed. He deserves every penny and more of the $10 million he got.
Yeah, by like a factor of 10. Jesus.
Yes. I still wake up in
that
cold...
guy deserves to be like on a beach getting like sucked off every day of his life. Like,
yeah.
By it, yes. I mean, I still wake up in cold sweats over this incident because the night before I had been on the 3rd shift and I couldn't open the same handle he was tugging on. So I called the millwrights about it and they told me they'd get it fixed after the 1st shift. If I had pulled a little harder, I would have suffered the same fate. But again, I was on the 3rd shift and completely alone.
Oh, okay. I've never done anything that dangerous, but as a human, I am familiar with the sensation of I could have fucking died just now, and
yes.
That's not a good feeling.
This is
19th century shit. This is the kind of shit that like Friedrich Engels is telling Marx about in a letter, and Marx is like, "Yo, that's crazy. Can I have some more money, please?"
Some money, yeah.
Where's you just have an open vat of boiling acid, like out of like fucking Bowser's castle.
Yes.
But if you think the shenanigans are over, oh baby, are we just getting started? There was a formal investigator coming down to the mill to figure out what happened. As you might recall, the rest of the mill wasn't in the best of shape either, and everyone knew it. Without the weeks of notice that there would typically be to give the rest of the mill an appearance of safety, corporate was frenzied. So they came up with this mind-boggling plan, and I swear on my grandpa that I am telling you the truth here. There's no way in a million years that you would believe what I'm going to tell you. They took one of the gators, John Deere gator,
okay.
I thought
they were just alligators.
No, it's just alligators. This is John Deere gator,
Bowser's Castle levels of evil,
It's like a sort of an aggressive golf cart, right?
Yes. Yeah, which Ross can't drive, by the way.
I don't talk about that. Anyway, so they took one of the John Deere gators the foreman and management staff used to get around the mill. They zip-tied a tarp to cover the passenger side so the investigator couldn't see. Drove the long way around the mill, directly into the cleaning department, and then tarped off the corridors to all other departments to ensure the investigator couldn't see any other departments.
Like eating ortolan, you like cover your shame.
However, despite corporate's best efforts, when he arrived, the investigator sat slack-jawed, gazing in awe at the almost beautiful disaster that was our department. He took only 20 minutes lightly inspecting our workspace before lividly telling our management to, direct quote, get their shit together and fix that fucking mess. We were shut down for nearly a month, doing repairs and committing ourselves to safety before we passed inspection by the narrowest of margins and were cleared to begin production again. Only for the foundry to have a catastrophic failure of the crucible, causing the melt shop to be flooded with molten metal, which shut us down for another month.
It's cool how like any kind of metal foundry is just like occasionally it just sprays superheated metal at you. That's cool.
Finally, after 2 months of shutdown and bringing in 3 different private contractors to fix the absolute foobarring of the steel mill, a faulty startup of the arc furnace exploded our 2 building-sized transformers, causing us to be shut down for another 2 months. At the time this was occurring, the CEO of our parent company was busted for tax evasion.
I kind of believe in like degrowth now, because in order to do growth, you have to have a lot of steel, right? And we're talking about ways of making steel, making carbon neutral and like net zero. And meanwhile, the process of steel making is like, oh yeah, the guy fell in the hot acid again.
Whoops!
Oh wow, we have
sort
to
of a generation behind. Yeah, where it needs to be.
My father and his father before him and his father before him all said there should be a handrail here. None of us were that tough. We wanted safety equipment. At the time this was occurring, the CEO of our parent company was busted for tax evasion. I legitimately wished that I was making this up, but needless to say, once production resumed, I saved up for about 6 months, then told my manager to go, redacted himself.
Have a nice time.
After I fell through the floor of the circle crane a second time.
What?
Yes, while falling into an acid box wasn't likely in the production area, falling through the floor was very common because, again, it doesn't matter how acid-resistant the grating is if you secure it with metal and wood.
Right.
I have more stories, so many more stories. You're going to think I'm lying because I know that sure as hell I wouldn't.
No, we don't think you're lying.
Me.
No, I believe this all unquestioningly.
The only good thing to come out of this clown show is the fact that this job turned me into an anarchist, since clearly a union will only get you so far.
Yeah.
You a union?
Oh.
Fuck me. That's like, you should, because, The upshot of that is you should see the non-union equivalent of this because it's somehow worse. Like, the non-union guys have to come to work through like a shower of hot acid every morning kind of thing.
You lot have a good day or night or whatever time it is. And remember, kids, it doesn't matter how well that job pays. If it consumes your life, it'll never be worth it.
That's the damn truth.
That's right.
I read this story. And, you know, the thing that really stuck out to me is that I believe yesterday at a Caterpillar plant, a man just fell into a vat of molten iron.
Yep.
Ooh, the Terminator 2.
That guy died.
Very
quickly.
So
very quickly,
did the T-1000.
Yeah, people just don't want to invest in handrails for some reason. Like the most basic piece of safety equipment.
Yeah, this is always like one of the most horrible sort of like industrial deaths, and it happens with like you can do it with pretty much anything. Like people have died falling into like vats of beer, vats of chocolate. That's a horrible one too because it's also
sewage.
like insanely hot, but it's sticky.
Pig waste.
Yeah.
What else?
Molasses.
Yeah.
Not
grain, because grain acts like a liquid.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Like a liquid that then also compresses you.
A lot of times the grain stuff is like people go in there deliberately like idiots. So
this was bracing. This was like having a bunch of like eyebrow hairs tweezed, you know?
I'm certain that acid probably took off a couple of hairs. I mean,
I bet. Yeah, very complete program of electrolysis happening.
Yes. This is it's exfoliating. Folks, if you own a factory with large vats of boiling chemicals,
it's first of all, I'm the boss. Second of all, it's all safety
iron.
God damn! I
put some handrails up so people don't fall in. If you're running Bowser's Castle.
This is legitimately the worst safety third I think I've ever heard.
This is tough.
This is the most harrowing one, and I remember the one about the guy getting the light fixture through the eye. Like, have we had a worse one than this? I don't remember one.
I don't think so. I don't think we've had guy falls into vat of boiling acid and survives. This is a Rick and Morty plot.
Yes.
I'm going to be like walking around just my daily life, like worried that someone has installed a hot acid vat somewhere and not told me. I'm going to be looking down every step that I take just in case someone's like put one of those in.
It could happen to you.
Yes.
The hot acid vat is an ambush predator.
Yeah.
It lies in wait.
It does.
All I can say is if you have a hot acid bath that's been there for 114 years.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Put some railings around it, please.
It's like the thing they use to like distill sherry or whatever. Like some of that acid is going to be 100-year-old acid.
Right.
You wonder
it's like the restaurants that never change their frying oil.
Exactly.
We
went for very sort of like difference in culture there. Yeah. God damn.
It's all like that.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, that was management does not give a fuck about you. They really holy crap.
No.
Holy fucking crap. I mean that was safety third.
Shake hands with danger.
Our next episode will be on the Boston molasses disaster. Does anybody have commercials before we go?
We could do a brief commercial for the live shows. Are there still tickets for those?
Yeah, for the bonus show.
I believe the bonus show. Yeah, there's still tickets. We may have. The third show will be different from the first two.
Yes.
It It won't be the Boston Molasses disaster. It will be a secret third thing.
Yes.
No, because the Boston Molasses disaster is the next episode.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
excuse
Yeah,
me. Sorry.
Yeah.
When is that? How can
December 7th is the first show. December 8th are the the second and third show. It is at Underground Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
All right, come to that. I will be calling in remotely.
Yes.
For that.
We will have
at
Flat
some
Alice
point,
once again.
That's right.
Yes.
Hopefully, I won't sound like a robot. If I do sound like a robot, I will try and style it out and keep it funny. And at some point, hopefully, inshallah, I will do a live show in person with you guys.
Yeah, that'll be our secret Glasgow show. Not announced.
That's right. That's right. I'm still thinking about the hot acid vat. I'll be 100% honest with you.
It could happen to you at any time.
Yeah.
At any time.
At any time.
Oh my God! Fuck!
Right.
Shit!
Go to bed. Go to bed.
All right,
Go to bed. Good night.
Go to bed. Stop thinking about hot acid.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.